Okay, so this chapter is more about, mass media and health. It reminds us a lot about violence in media and isn't just entertainment. Whether we realize it or not, a lot of exposure to violence within TV shows and movies, video games, especially social media, shapes how people think, feel, and act every day. One big idea that stands out is the mean world syndrome. This is when people frequently watch violent TV shows and movies and start believing the world is a lot more dangerous and a lot more threatening than it actually is. A lot of research within the modern space kind of reflects that. The BBC themselves reported in 2024 the violent content on platforms like TikTok and Instagram has an increase in fear and anxiety within others, makes others feel mistrustful about who they are around and their safety. One other aspect is the fact that it actually can desensitize us. When people, especially kids and teens, see violence over and over again, they become numb to it. That means that there's less empathy within the victims and less people being feeling connected to one another, which is very something that I actually understand and have dealt with myself when tragedies have occurred to my people around me. I notice a lot of people just are not as connected or feel anything to it. They have lack empathy. There's also all things is when the 90s actually was a major shift when it comes to how we view media. Things like the parental guidelines in Egypt trying to block kids from that age. It's been a lot harder in the digital world because a lot of parents have stopped using built-in features that can protect your kids from violence within it, and kind of just allowed them to have a lot more better access. But YouTube, then there's also things like, there's YouTube's creators for change and meta things before you share are examples of today's efforts to, try to promote positivity that I think a lot of people don't understand. And then there's other groups like I canceled in 2023 called End Gun Violence campaign use emotional storytelling to humanize victims, fight against the numbing effects of repeated violence. The goal is to help viewers reconnect with real emotions and see the harm in violent acts and try to challenge desensitization head on. The major key takeaway from this chapter has kind of been like violent content since it's like before the 90s or the 70s starting is when you saw a lot of violent and more openly hostile type of content, especially sensationalization in the news. It kind of risks how we view one another and how we act to one another. And it changes a lot of key aspects that I don't think a lot of people understand. That violence, sex on TV does affect how we think of one another and how we act to one another. This generation is especially seen as when the recent murder of a not favorite person I respect, but the Charlie Kirk incident, how we're now using his name as for memes or making up things out of his death. We've become more desensitization, especially Gen Alpha. That's not a good thing. And I do fear how it's going to affect Gen Beta going forward.